Okay, I will bring up the agenda for today. Okay. Do you have anything to add to the agenda? Anything from iPro?
Nothing from iPro.
Okay. Anything from Hikvision?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Should we give it a few more minutes or should we start?
Are we missing anyone?
I guess a lot of people are missing, but I haven't really seen any.
But do we have anyone else from Axis that should join today, Fredrik, or not?
No?
No, then you're fine from our side.
Okay, so I would like to open up a discussion about app manifest. The formats of it, I propose to use the JSON format, and then the contents of the app manifest. So I propose these basic things for, like, there should be a signature, so you can sign your application and verify it when you install it. You should be able to set which user and group that application should run as. You should be able to request resources from the system, like some CPU, amount of CPU and RAM, and maybe a GPU and other types of hardware or storage. Also, if it needs to mount something from the host, I mean, we should try to avoid this, but sometimes that's could be needed for some reason. It could be also that a system might not allow that. Then it knows what kind of mounts at least the application is needing, and then it can reject it, not install it if it doesn't deem it to be secure. Also, we could have security profiles set for the application in the manifest, so it will point out like seccomp profile, which system calls that it needs to run. Also, other security profiles for AppArmor, for example. And then licensing. So what type of license that when licensing, I mean from the manufacturer, if it requires a license to run, that you have a license key to install or something to be able to run it. And then there should be, of course, generic information about the app. So who made it, what's the web page, and those kind of fields that are common. So that's my idea about why I would like to see create a schema for this in JSON to define these things. The resources thing is the most difficult, probably. Any comments?
Hasan, do you have any comment?
It's okay for my side.
Okay, I see.
Are you missing any vital information that we should consider? Any comments from High Vision?
No, it's good.
So, Frederick-san, so I would like to confirm one thing. So about signature, so container image will attach the UniMatrix official signature to the OCI image itself. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, it can do that. I mean, we can include this manifest in the OCI, or it can be the manifest can be a separate file. We can also maybe my idea was to have a separate JSON file for it that you when you install it, but I mean we could also include this JSON inside the OCI container. So what do you think is the best way?
So in the past time, so I suggested some signature signature certification system. For example, so the AI application developer submit the OCI image to the UniMatrix official website. So the OCI image is tested automatically. For example, API and vulnerability like that. And if the testing is passed, the OCI image should be attached as a UniMatrix official signature. So I think so. Such a structure is very useful for the UniMatrix. But so is it difficult to realize such a thing?
Yeah, but it's not enough with the signature. So basically all this information here is needed. So if you want to if you want to run the image, the app, and make sure it works and conform to some security, you need all this information. So I would say everything in this app manifest has to be uploaded when you are publishing your application. So it's not enough with just an OCI image. So I would say the OCI image, if it contains this information, the signature can be added if it's by the server side when it's been tested and so on.
Service side is full.
Sorry?
For example, who is the service side? For example, is it Axis, Hikvision, or iPro, or integrate our partners, integrators?
I would say that we create an automatic test suite for and then run Git. That you can do hooks
On Git.
Yeah, so it automatically runs. So I think the whole process should be possible to automate, but then what test to run and so on will be up to the TC to decide. So I think it should be not one company that decide or whatever. It's jointly decided by the TC what is the testing process, and I think we should strive for automating it as much as possible using GitLab actions and so on. You can automatically run certain, all the containers and stuff in GitLab when certain things happen.
On GitLab. Did you read my email?
About signing? Yeah, I read it.
No. About the contents of last GB call, yesterday GB call.
No, I haven't. I haven't looked at GB call.
So according to GB members, the marketplace seems to be planned. If it is created on the UniMatrix official website, so no. Maybe AWS or Microsoft related to cloud service, maybe. And if we do so the automatically executed program would be installed in AWS or Azure, like that. Therefore, we need to consider the whole ecosystem to realize the UniMatrix. Maybe. Maybe you don't understand what I say.
Do you have some notes from the GB call? Because I haven't seen.
I don't have any note. So maybe Pa-san or Leonid-san will issue the meeting minutes later. Okay. I will push them to do so. Yeah. Therefore, so anyway, so we should consider about such a thing to discuss technology matters, I think.
Are you talking about a marketplace or like an app store or whatever? Where you can find applications? Because I don't think UniMatrix should have a marketplace. I think.
Yeah. According to our discussion until now, so I completely agree with you. However, yesterday, Leonide-san and Hikvision's Adler-san suggested a new scope about UniMatrix. Therefore, please share the information with them.
We will talk to Per and Leo about it, because maybe if we decide to have a marketplace or something, it should maybe be a separate project, and so you could still use other. You could separate it. I think.
I also think so.
Yeah.
And so we need to launch UniMatrix version 1.0 as soon as possible.
And we want the UniMatrix to be used by other ecosystems as well. So we can't mandate an ecosystem. But of course, it could be a separate project if enough members would like to do something like that. That's my opinion, at least. But we talked to Per and Leo and think.
So therefore, so Leonide-san is about to expand the industry, not only security and safety, but also all industries.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I understand. They want to widen the scope, right? So it's more IoT type of applications.
Actually, maybe those are quicker to adopt this type of technical solutions. So that could be a smart move to widen the scope for that reason.
Yeah. Yesterday, I didn't understand word discussion, but the main point is these two items. UniMatrix is not needed only for security industry, but also for other industries, and it's desirable to collaborate with the marketplace of
If you look at Microsoft and AWS, they are targeting, for example, industry. So we are targeting different sectors that is not security industry. So to attract them, I guess we'll have to have different industries using UniMatrix. So that I could agree with them. Still, that would be needed.
But anyway, for publishing, let's go back to the technical stuff. Then I think if we go back to the signing and that part, I think, as I said, can be automated. But then the resulting binaries or the resulting application images, they should not be hosted on our container registry, for example. we could host something like that on Docker Hub. I mean, if we have our own account, then Docker Hub can do additional scanning of containers and so on. But that, I think that type of account that we need for that, I think it costs money, so we should, then we have to look at the financing of that. Okay, any other? Otherwise, I'd like to discuss a little bit about resource requests. And so, do you guys have any ideas on how to do, how if we do an app manifest, okay, this application needs some specific amount of CPU resources. So how would we express that in a manifest? I mean, when it comes to RAM and flash and so on, it's not so difficult. With the CPU, we have some different. Should it request, you know, a percentage of the CPU, or it's more on how many flops and so on that you need to run?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
On the other have a question. Can we go back to the signature? I have some question.
Yes.
If we want to signature OCR images, but the OCR, the image after signature must be OCI compatible, right? It can be run or load correctly by Containerd or Docker.
Yeah.
So, but how we can signature the image? The signature will attach to the manifester, embed in manifester.
Yeah, my suggestion is to keep the signature outside of the image, and then basically to upload everything, we could just put it in a tar ball, so it will be a separate file.
Yeah, that's a good solution. Okay, no problem.
So then, when the system when the system is supposed to install this application, it unpacks the tar, and then it finds the manifest, and there it gets the signature. It can calculate the signature of the OCI and then compare it to the manifest, and then also it can check. Sorry.
If the OCI image and the signature are separated, divide into parts, maybe it's not very it's not very convenient. Oh, I don't know how to say that.
Yes, but it would be in the same tar, so it would be in one archive, so it's only one file.
Oh, I know. Okay.
I mean, this is a proposal. I mean, this is the most straightforward way to do it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
That's. I mean, when you compare, that's how we do Axis. I'm talking about Axis. We do our own application platform. We have like tar archive with containing some configuration file which gives you the configuration for the application, and then the application itself is packaged in another binary.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to resources. Any ideas for the CPU? I'm not so familiar with C groups, but in C groups, I think you can set percentage. Like you have different slices. So I guess each application would have its own slice, and then you can set hard and soft limits for the slice. How many percent? I don't know if you can set a specific amount of cycles that that this application is supposed to get, or more hard definable resources. And when it comes to the GPU, it's even more difficult to divide it, and even some GPUs is not possible to divide it, and some GPUs you can divide percentage or a certain amount and so on. So it's not a very easy problem to solve this, how to express this hardware.
GPU and NPU is more difficult because C group haven't any controller to control the GPU and CPU. So maybe there is no standardized solution to control that.
I've seen some work being done on the kernel side for GPU, but it's not mainlined yet in Linux.
Yeah.
Sorry. One question is that the resource here is described as a limitation of the camera, or is the requirement of the application if you want to run the application on the device?
Yeah, it's the requirement of the application.
Okay, if it is a requirement, usually is described for application is described as what's the CPU frequency of the device requirement, and the computation resource like GPU is 1 or 10 TPOS, OPS or TPOS, right? They describe like this, right?
Well, the application.
And how many RAM or how many flash does it need?
Yes. So, but I think so. The difficult thing here is the CPU, and even more difficult is GPU. How to express.
For CPU, I saw the frequency. We should use the frequency, right?
We can set a period of time to application they can use. For example, application can only run 2 seconds in of 10 seconds. It means 20%.
Yeah. So I think that So I guess let me summarize. So one idea is that we make it quite simple with the CPU. We only say, okay, this application, it needs to run on a gigahertz CPU or something. Then
Yes.
I think that's a quite good idea. It makes it quite simple. But because let's say the application said, okay, I want 25% of the CPU, then it might not run well if the CPU is 500 megahertz instead of a gigahertz. So it might. So I agree with your proposal about maybe make it on the CPU. It just check basic hardware if the CPU is fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's very hard to control the application, right? If it describe it need like 25% CPU or like the computation resource is 10T or 1T. In the camera, we cannot control very precisely how many resource does the application to usage. For RAM or flash, maybe it's easier, but yeah, as you said, the CPU and the GPU is not easy to divide it, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea actually. So I'm going to start designing a JSON schema. Then we can have next time maybe we can go into more details. And then if we go to the GPU, or then maybe there's something on the same line would be the size of the GPU, like in megabytes or whatever. So you know roughly the size of the model that you can load into the GPU. Would that make sense?
Sorry, could you repeat again?
Yeah, when it comes to the GPU, let's say, okay, my application requires, it has a 500 megabyte deep learning model, so it needs to load its model to the GPU or something. Then the requirements is basically you express your model size. And that could work for other deep learning type of chips as well. I mean, the size, basically, if you have some other type of accelerator, you need some internal RAM, and that basically limits the size of the model that you can run.
I have one comment. If you look at Azure and AWS, they have some vCore definition. Maybe we should have a look at how they define CPU resources and see if there is something that could be useful for us.
Yeah, where do you find it?
I just Googled quickly now while I listened to you, and I found that Microsoft Azure has a virtual core. I didn't go into all the details, but maybe to next meeting we could have a look to see if there is something we could use.
That's probably for running a virtual host. So
maybe Kubernetes has a CPU model. I don't know, but I was saying we could have a look before deciding to see if there is something that is usable.
Yes, I mean, Kubernetes has something for CPU and RAM and so on. I don't think, and Docker has something for GPU, but it's NVIDIA specific.
I'm just saying the developers we are targeting maybe has some sort of knowledge about how the cloud providers are defining CPU resources, and if they could feel somewhat familiar, it could be a good idea maybe.
I think when it comes to Docker, I think it's pretty basic support for that you can request. You get.
Maybe you require that you have 2 CPUs, 50%, but you need to know the generation of the hardware. So maybe you need a generation. So you could say this is generation 5, generation 6, so you have some sense of what kind of capacity the processor has.
Yes.
Megahertz is not a good idea, or gigahertz is not a good idea, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm happy also if someone else can do a proposal about it. I don't have to do everything here. So is there someone willing to look at some parts of the schema? Okay, anyway, I'll do some presentation next time around JSON schema. Okay, any other comments? Okay, then I'll move on to the next topic, which is the Git structure. So I made a proposal for how to reorganize the Git. So my idea is to keep the governance and meetings spec. And then we create an SDK. This is currently residing under containers, and under there we put different parts of the SDK. So right now it's OpenCV and TensorFlow serving. Also, I think maybe we should put some models in the SDK so that you have, I mean, just some open source models that are available. So there's a few ones that are very commonly used, like MobileNet and so on. So we can put some basic models in the SDK. And then I suggest also to put examples on the top. So right now I have made 3 examples. This object detector in Python, and then a C++ version, and then a native Laravel version that's using Laravel APIs. And then the containers that's already existing, and then under there we put different components that are needed to run. So the dbus for run that's needed by Laravel, and then Laravel and the Laravel inference server if you want to use this TensorFlow serving API. And then there is Laravel, which is the inference server, and then the inference engine, and then this Laravel inference server runs on top of Laravel if you want to have this TensorFlow serving API, which is a network API. And then lastly, it's the reference implementation for a device, and then we have Raspberry Pi implementation using Open Embedded. Any comments? Is this a good idea, or should we organize it somewhere else?
Frederick-san, so at first, so the purpose of the accessing the Git by the AI developers is to get software modules, I think. Therefore, so for example, in your list, governance meetings are included, and therefore the member internal information and software modules, both of them should be separated, I think.
Yeah, but I think it's a good idea to have everything version controlled in Git. So even like the website and so on should be there. But it can be, it doesn't have to be in the same. I mean, so where do you suggest to put stuff like governance documents and so on?
For example, so we create another repository, and the UniMatrix member internal information is put on another repository, and the current repository should be the only software modules. How do you feel?
Yeah, I don't agree on that. I mean, the governance information is public information. We are a transparent organization, right? So all the meeting protocols and so on, all of that
okay,
is
okay, okay, okay. I see. Could you please display the lists again? And if I remember correctly, so you will also release the backend of Railroad. So the backend of Railroad, where is the backend Railroad placed on?
Those are also under Laravel. So all the
Railroad.
Yes, I mean everything is included when you build, but you can select which parts that you want.
So service.
So this
this is what you mentioned, right?
Yeah. So here are the under chips are the different chips that are supported. So here is T-Fly, TPU, and yeah, so OpenCL and other CV Flow for Umbrella. But I think the Lara team had an idea of splitting it up so that you can separate the backend from the Lara service itself, but that is still not done. So right now everything is under the same project.
Okay, and in addition, so in the future, iPro will contribute to upload the reference implementation about Kubernetes K3s related implementation. So which part is the Kubernetes placement?
So that will go in this structure. I mean, this is not finalized, or this is a proposal from me. So that would go. I mean, here is the Raspberry Pi using containerd.
Yeah.
So you could add more.
Right.
Some other
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Using Kubernetes K3s, like that.
It would be maybe just an x86 host with Linux. That would be another interesting reference, I guess. Yeah, so that's where you can put your reference.
In reference. Okay, I understood.
Mm-hmm. So what should we do this reorganization, and do you have any further suggestions?
So maybe the Git structure is okay like this, and so we should start writing the concrete description for the each category.
Do you mean documentation or?
Documentation, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something that is missing a lot, actually. So I've been concentrating on the code side. So
yeah.
We probably need some skilled technical writers.
So
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's all I had for this day. Then, or is there any comment from Hikvision? Do you have any suggestions for the Git structure?
Do they need a test confirmation? Sorry, conformance test like this kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also, yeah, you're right. That's something that I have ignored totally, but it definitely that's a part that needs to be picked up.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you tried to run this demo or this example on camera side? Have you done that before?
The example applications, yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We have run on our camera, but the examples that are here are not exactly what we are, because we are using Axis is using our own backend to OpenCV. So then that part, it's not published yet. Hopefully soon we can update these examples that will also run on the cameras. Okay, then I have one last thing, which is the next meeting time. So which day is best for you guys? Should we continue on Thursdays, or like before on, we had, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday? So that would be like October 12, 13, or 14.
From April, so everything is okay.
So is Wednesday the 13th fine? Can we take that one?
Okay, fine.
Okay, so I'll send out an invitation for the same time slot on Wednesday the 13th.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Frederick-san and Willie-san. So, by the way, so this is a communication board topic. So, have you already received the invitation about a Linux Foundation meeting from Jen-san?
Sent out an invitation for Monday, if I remember correctly.
No.
Or was it? I remember I got an invitation at least.
I haven't got any. I got only an email from you, Makoto-san, that you wanted to include me, but I haven't got the invitation. Maybe then forward it.
Maybe tomorrow, Jen-san will go back to office. Therefore, so I hope he will send the invitation to us.
Yeah, maybe it was just the date. He asked the question about the date, and we answered yes. Yeah, you're correct. So we wait tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's all.
Sorry, Frederick,
Yeah.
I have another question. You mentioned on access camera, you already can run in this dock OCI compatible container, right? Do you have any idea how much resource do we need for this container?
For the example containers?
Yes.
I don't have a fresh number, but I can probably make. I can gather some statistics for you if you're interested.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. All right. That's it for this time. Thank you for joining. See you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.